My name is Shannon B. Douglas. This is While We Were Asleep. I was at a conservative conference here in Ottawa, actually because I crashed a conference in Calgary last weekend. I got word that this was happening. Honestly, the smartest room I've ever been in. Technically, the organization is a nonpartisan organization, and it operates by Chatham House rules, which means, we don't talk about what people said, and particularly who were there. Well, I made some new friends. And then when I came to Ottawa to this conference, which used to be called the Manning Conference, I met a lot of those same people again. I heard from them on the main stage. One of those people, our keynote, was Yeonmi Park, North Korean escapee who escaped North Korea for the single focus of finding food when she was 13 years old. She was bred for the glory of dear leader. Her family, because of historic family crimes, was one of a very marginalized group of North Koreans. She shared that there are 51 different classes in North Korea, in a communist country where everyone's supposed to be equal. And those people, their roles and their rights, and what such as they are determined by the behaviors and actions of their ancestors. They have narratives of privilege or guilt based on their name and their ancestry, and she came to Colombia, escaped to China. Along the way, was sold into sex slavery, managed to reach the United States, and went to Columbia University, where she was told that she was white passing and had white privilege, and that because of her capacity for language, English being a third language for her, and not understanding all these gender pronouns, was accused of bigotry and has been canceled. And it didn't seem to matter, her explanation that she was a trafficked human as a young woman and escaped North Korea. The atrocities there, where cannibalism is on the rise because of lack of food, where she had gone to a hospital. The doctor had speculated by prodding that she had appendicitis. They cut her open on the table without anesthetic. And outside these hospitals in North Korea, piles of corpses being eaten by rats. I've heard her interviewed before, but never heard her from a keynote speech perspective, speaking openly about what some of those experiences were for her and what some of her concerns are about what's happening here now. Her 4-year-old child going to daycare in Chicago, and the reports from the school about all of the equity education that their kids are being indoctrinated with. And she said that she escaped North Korea to come to America to watch these same things beginning to happen. One of the biggest warnings she had was that we need to be able to have the freedom to think freely and think critically and say dumb things and make mistakes. Because when no one knows how to think critically and how to speak openly, then we already become slaves. She said, when you don't know you're a slave, you have no way of knowing what freedom is. And she reminded us that North Korea calls itself a democratic republic. The redistribution people in Canada and the United States, who believe everything should be free and everyone should be equal, are the same forces that my grandparents saw in Russia in the 1920s, the same forces that people from Eastern Europe who have come to Canada within the last generation or so are speaking about. They are the same kinds of stories that we're hearing from people like Yeonmi Park. It's alarmist to say that these are serious, serious problems. But with our institutions, and so many of them captured by this ideology, this censorship, this cancel cult, these abusive mobs that intimidate people into silence, this is the beginning. This is how these things happen. And we have to be aware that that's how these things happen. And we have to be willing to have the courage to stand up to this and to say no. To set a boundary and say, this is it. This is unacceptable behavior in this society to bully and intimidate and cancel and censor. These are crimes. And Yeonmi Park talked about the kind of crime that many of us are committing in the eyes of the woke mob, and those are thought crimes. And so we're self-censoring. And I talked to people all through Western Canada in the last few weeks. I spent weeks in British Columbia and in Alberta talking with teachers, college instructors, and school board trustees, and politicians. We're self-censoring. Many, many people in our society are afraid to speak. Some people just say, oh, well, you can't really say that anymore. But that's self-censorship. That's self-censorship because those things that we are self-censoring have been deemed to be thought crimes. We're internalizing the oppression by people who say that they're liberating us. My name is Shannon B. Douglas. This is While We Were Asleep.